Wow, it's been a while, hasn't it? So, what made me leave my graduate school cave and come back? Well,
Oh my god, bro.
ignoring the obvious moral implications of using a literal child's likeness to promote gambling to grade schoolers, one question came to mind. Can I make money from this? Just kidding, of course. As you may know, the house always wins, especially when dealing with slot machines. Before you even have the opportunity to pull that lever, many statisticians have ensured that you will lose money in the long run by controlling the payouts. In fact, it might not even be close to fair. Though that does pose the question, how unfair is this game? The game's host, which I do not intend on giving free advertising, claims a house edge of about 3.54%. In other words, for every dollar you put into the game, we're expected to lose a little under 4 cents. However, as we will see, there are options a player can choose which will increase the house edge significantly, which is bad. Let's first talk about the game itself. In the normal mode, there are 2 reels, which will output a number from 0 to 9, hence 10 different possibilities for each reel. The goal is to get 6, 7. When you hit 6, 7, you will receive 67 times your original bet. Also, if only one position is correct, you will receive a consolation reward of 1.65 times your original bet. I find it easier to view these rates as a net gain per dollar. This gives us these rates. Note that I am accounting for the cost of a $1 bet. Funnily enough, that means jackpots actually net only $66 per dollar spent. I think we found the Antichrist. Let's find the expected value of a player's profit per dollar. If you haven't heard of the term, think of it as an average outcome of the game. Expected value is calculated as a weighted average, where the likelihood of each event is multiplied by its net result, and you sum it all together. We already know the net results, so let's get the likelihood of each event. A nice way to do this visually is to show each possibility on a grid. As you can see, there is only one possibility where we can get 6, 7. Then we can see that getting one position correct lies on these 2 lines. Summing the possibilities, we get 18. Finally, the other possibilities sum up to 81. Since there are a total of 100 possibilities, we can divide each of our previous occurrences by 100 to get the probability of that event occurring. Finally, we do a weighted average and find that the expected return on our dollar investment is negative 3.3 cents. Goody! That means, on average, you will lose 3.3 cents for every dollar you put into this game. That is actually slightly better than the advertised house edge. However, this is by no means a safe or effective strategy to make money, especially in the long run. Oh, I almost forgot to mention, how does expected value inform us about our potential earnings? Well, due to the law of large numbers, the average of some number of observations will converge towards its corresponding expected value as the number of observations approaches infinity. In other words, as we play the game for longer, we would expect the average profit per dollar to get very close to the expected value that we calculated, given that we play the game for a long enough time. In this way, expected value tells us what we can expect our profits to be in the long run. But wait, there is another option, the bonus. If you pay 8.5 times your bet up front, you will be guaranteed that the first slot will be a 6. This means that you will only need the second slot to clutch up a 7 for you to win the jackpot. In theory, this doesn't sound too bad. But you, dear viewer, must remain vigilant. Buying the bonus is unironically the worst thing you could possibly do, given you are already playing this absolute dog water. Let's dive into it. Looking back at our original grid, we can see that only this line of boxes is possible, since we fixed the first digit. Now we only have 10 different possibilities, with one being the jackpot and the other 9 being the consolation prizes. As for the net payouts, let's just subtract 7.5 from each of our totals, and here are the new net results. Using a weighted average, we can find that the expected value has dropped to a little below 30 cents. However, we are not considering the cost of fixing as a part of our bet. Since we spent $8.5 in this scenario, we must divide our expected value by 8.5 to normalize it. This gives us 3.71 cents lost per dollar. This is almost 50 cents worse than what we had originally. This is why it is important to understand the math behind things. It'll prevent you from being played like a fiddle and losing all of your money.
But there is one more forbidden option, the 6767 mode.
In this mode, there are 4 different reels that must hit 6767 for you to win. The payouts are a bit different with net profits on the screen now. We are unable to use the same visualization method to express the possibilities, unless you are Michael from Vsauce and are able to imagine four-dimensional spaces with your mind.
I'm trying to visualize a fourth spatial dimension.
Instead, we will have to use permutations with repetitions.
Jingle, jingle, pay attention.
To keep it simple for you all, I'll use this formula and lightly explain it now. This term, red 4 choose K, counts the number of ways to order K items among 4 slots. For example, there are 6 different options when exactly 2 reels are winning, which is considered 4 choose 2. Then you multiply that by the number of wrong options on the slot, which is 9, raised to the power of the number of incorrect reels. That is a bit of a mouthful, but you'll have to trust me. I did the math. Putting all this together, we can get not only the standard expected value, but also the expected value of fixing 1, 2, or 3 different reels. Like before, we normalize these expected values to be the expected value per dollar spent. This presents an oddity, where unlike the first game, it is best to fix 2 of the reels, with only an expected loss of about 2.5 cents per dollar. But keep in mind that you will be spending much more money due to the cost of fixing 2 reels. Thus, we come to a few interesting conclusions. Conclusion 0, which isn't really something we needed to prove, there is no way to make this game profitable in the long term. There is, of course, a chance of a lucky streak. However, playing this game over time will cause you to regress towards the expected outcome of unprofitability. Conclusion 1. While the listed house edge number isn't entirely accurate, it seems like a somewhat reasonable middle ground between some of the options you could choose. However, some options lead to an unbelievably high house edge in comparison. And how do I say this without getting in legal trouble? Actually, I'll just leave it at that. Conclusion 2. The 6767 version of the game actually benefiting from fixing 2 reels may be a result of the comically large jackpot for that game. Fixing 2 reels must be the best middle ground between increasing the chance of a jackpot without lowering the profitability of every other option too much. That's about all I have to say. I do not recommend that you use this video as a pretense to gamble, because remember, casinos are very careful to ensure their games are profitable for them in the long run. And if this Joe Schmo is able to find the expected values, you bet your lucky stars they've done it too. In fact, I hope this video is a good motivator to not gamble, especially in games where you know for a fact you are at a massive disadvantage. With that said, I don't have anything else, so goodbye.